blessed unity with the L-O-V-E. Love is the solution, so set your love free with the L-O-V-E. Further evolution and blessed unity.
Good morning, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Self-Love Show. And I am Trish, and this is my beautiful co-host, Dawn Light. Wait, is this right here?
Hi.
Thank you for joining us this morning at 8 a.m. while we share a couple of tools on bettering your relationship with yourself and others with deepest love and compassion.
Super honored to be here with you all today. We love the show. We love sharing in this deep way, and really honored. So excited to have Trish back. Let's give her an extra happy Trish. It was birthday.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be back after taking some time to really just recenter. And some of this work is coming out of my time away and really thinking about what self-responsibility looks like and what self-love looks like. You know, I've been thinking a lot about how it's not just self-love. Like, and just love make the whole world work, your whole world work. It just doesn't work like that. So it's not just about self-love. It's about really, and there's this idea that self-love is like pampering and getting your nails done and, getting your hair done and doing these like facial scrubs. And actually that's not what it looks like for me anymore. That's some aspects of self-care, but it's like self-love and self-care looks like going to therapy, seeing my coach, doing the inner work, reading the books that I'm reading. Like there's self-love looks like benefiting my life in a way that's going to benefit everyone around me. It's really showing up in a way that's no longer asking other people to meet my needs. And just sitting back with that.
It's true.
Today's something for the last couple of weeks. Taking responsibility for yourself is a powerful act of self-love. Again, being human and alive is complicated. No doubt that this is the time in our life that it's really complicated right now to be alive and to be able to hold another person's views of the world and still love them and yourself through it and hold boundaries, right? We've had a couple shows about boundaries. Let me know if you guys have seen that one or some of those ones and share if those were helpful. But sometimes we act out of what our values are. And sometimes our behaviors and our actions don't match who we truly are. And as we try to get some needs met, we leave others behind. And, it's so perfectly human, as I wrote in the piece, is like we choose to get evidences where other needs are also desperate to be met. And we create these dichotomies, this separation, this place to get one need met without even knowing that they don't have to be separated, right? So how do we get back in alignment? How do we get back into congruence? And how do we have compassion while we're taking responsibility and ownership? Is everyone following along here? I'm going to give you an example of what happened recently. And after an epic vacation, I chose to show up at a party that I got a little drunk, and I chose to show up in a way that's not really in accordance to my values. So it's not where I was at, I was wearing a mask, I was holding all these specific boundaries, but I chose to behave in a way that didn't actually support what I wanted to cultivate in myself or who I am and cultivate with the other person. And what happened is that nobody else noticed. Nobody else had a reaction or an experience or a response. But what happened inside of me is that I knew for me that it was out of integrity, that it was out of, I chose to behave in a way, I chose to throw a fit about something that why would I have done that? Right? And what I needed to do was really show up for myself in that place. And so I spoke to the other person. I was like, hey, I behaved in this way that wasn't in alignment with my true heart's desire, with my true heart, with my values, with the things that we've agreed upon. And I want to show up in that way. I want to show up for you, and I want to show up for me in that way, because that's what feels good. And even with you, Dawn, there's been places where I've been out of integrity. I was out of integrity last week with you and the show. And I got to come back in. I got to take responsibility that my actions or my lack thereof had an impact, a strong impact on you. And that's important. That's me taking responsibility for myself. I agreed to some things with you and I didn't show up. You were really easy about it. You were like, oh yeah, you're on vacation. And I was like, no. It's not my value system that I show I want to, that I've agreed upon, because you're important to me and I'm important to me, right? So is everyone following this, how the breakdown, how if I chose to put my wants and needs or something on another person, that this would break down? Or if I'm like, oh, just let this integrity piece slide.
Yeah.
Is this resonating with you, Dawn?
Yeah.
I'm springing this on Dawn today, by the way. She didn't know what I wanted to talk about, and I was like, oh, don't you worry about it, girl. I know you're going to do great.
I'm totally okay with it. At the same time, I deeply honor you, you know what I mean? And I honor that you needed that break and vacation. So it was also a conscious choice we both made together to give you that.
Of course.
Yeah. So for me, it didn't feel like you were out of integrity, because it was a spoken thing between us, complete out of integrity would be not talking about, and that's not what you did. But it was a deeper investigation of oh wow, this is out of alignment. This is out of alignment for me. At the end of the day, you felt that way when you were on vacation, and you got to really assess that. And so this is the birth of that.
Oh yeah. There's just so much about taking responsibility for oneself. So in the conversations that I've had over the last few weeks with clients, with friends, there's this common theme that comes up, that this idea that taking responsibility implies guilt or shame, that you're supposed to self-flagellate when you make a mistake. And I hope that anybody.
Say that again. You were taking responsibility.
That there's this idea that taking responsibility implies guilt and shame, that you should self-flagellate or punish oneself for making mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to say that, again, the person that felt the discomfort, the person that felt the place of out of integrity wasn't you, right? It wasn't my person that I was hanging out with at this party. It was me. And so again, taking responsibility for yourself is owning that your feelings, the things that are welling up inside of you, are created by me, right? It's me that's creating my feeling. It's beliefs and my values that are creating my beliefs. Am I really choppy?
I am now. I was. We're having internet issues for some reason today, so be patient with us. I was going to say, but it's interesting when we're experiencing this on the inside, the outside is perfectly orchestrated to be that mirror for us to experience it.
Of course. So what in this place of, so when I called you up a couple Thursdays ago and I wanted to get back in integrity with you, we were like, girl, like, you're not out of it. And for me, it was really powerful because I was like, oh, I get to own that it was out of integrity for me. Are you hearing the distinction? Like, are you guys watching, hearing this distinction? That it's not, again, it's a place where I want to show up. And it's also a place of deep care and love for Dawn. Like, I have a deep love and care and respect for Dawn that I want to show up in the way that I want to show up in the way, right? I've agreed. But the discomfort comes from within me. So when I'm not taking full responsibility for my life as it's unfolding, then I'm just kind of bleeding out my power. This is what we do. So when I'm asking someone else to meet my sexual needs, this is a big one in life, in families. When I'm asking someone to meet my emotional needs, or when I'm asking someone else to meet my physical needs, I mean, I know that there's some there. I'm not saying that this is a complete and overly like encompassing place. People have needs that need to be met by other people. I totally get it. And I'm not saying that you need to self-source all of your needs. But I'm saying when you're putting your needs onto someone else and you know that they can't meet you there, that's not taking self-responsibility. That's not self-sourcing. And this is really powerful because I think that when we have the opportunity to self-source and meet our own needs, that we can show up to another person with so much more capacity and opportunity to really meet them where you want to be met and where they want to be met.
Full presence.
What's the sexiest thing that someone can do in your life? Just fully be present.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Being present allows like deeper intimacy and vulnerability to come forward because you're not living in the past, you're not living in a story, you're not, thinking of something that is disconnecting you from like the full now.
Exactly.
Really powerful. Are you ready to lead into the self-empathy? Feel like you have a little more to share?
Just a couple more minutes. I have a couple. I'm wanting to I'm wanting to hear what the people watching have to say. Like, if you guys can just drop in the box about where do you find yourself taking responsibility for yourself, and where do you find yourself pushing that off on another person? Like, and it's okay. Like, you don't have to type it in the box. Just think about that. Like, for me, there's been places in the past where I've asked, one of my most recent boyfriends, I really asked him to meet my sexual needs. And I was just unwilling to do that. For me, I wanted his attention and his validation. And he lovingly said, I can't offer that to you right now. So for me to actually own that, I know this is really powerful. I'm like really like raw. I'm like 34, kind of like, all right, y'all, watch out.
Good.
That to own that right there, like I was putting this basket of desperacy in his lap, and he was like, like that wasn't okay, actually. That wasn't okay for how I wanted to show up for him, for me. And it left both of us in a really icky feeling. Like, oh my gosh, I can't meet her needs. Oh my gosh, he's not good enough for me. Oh my gosh, I'm not good enough for him. Like, it created a whole thing. So instead of being like, oh, I love you, I'm going to go now and take care of my own needs. Or, I mean, we do this in new relationships or in relationships around money. Like, oh, this one needs money. Or you need to make more money, or I need to make more money to care for the, like, it happens in every place. Sex, money, food, housing, gosh, friendships. Like that place where you feel desperate, or when you feel really needy, or when someone's coming to you feeling really needy and desperate, and you're like, oh, you can feel them grasping at the like strings of your coattails or something. Like, these are the places where that person has the opportunity to take responsibility. I mean, I'm not saying that this is everyone needs, like you can self-source everything that you need. That's actually unrealistic, and I know that that's not true. And there's people with a lot of needs in the world, right? There's a lot of people with disabilities. There's children. There's, there's things that people need. And there's things that I need from other people as well. What do I need from other people? Oh, housing. Like, I can't buy a house, so I have to pay someone to give me housing. I pay workers to, like indirectly from the grocery store. Like, there's things that it's this collaborative experience that we're living in. But I'm not choosing to ask anyone else to meet my needs in emotional places that I know that I can meet it now. Am I ranting or ranting?
I just want to say, when you're willing to lean into the places that you've not met your needs and explore it and lean in and take responsibility for it, it opens the door for the need to be met. If it's not the person that you were wanting it to be met by, then it opens the door for you, the universe, to help you meet it through yourself or through a new opportunity coming forward. Like, for me, I'll be really vulnerable right now. It's been showing up for me. There's been this, pervading pattern of like sex and money in my parents' dynamic, and then it's shown up in my own deep relationship in my personal relationship even. And I had a long history of being very empowered as a performer, and I basically made great money for many, many years of my life. And with COVID, I'd been preparing for a very long time to enter into full-time coaching. And with COVID, it shifted the gears for me full-time. And I had to let go of like an income stream I was fully reliant on. So there's been this deep inner working of like the underbelly of this current, of this pattern, which goes so deep in my family history of like, beyond my parents, like my grandparents. There's a deep familial pattern working out, even to where it even showed up in the realms of my dad passing and like leaving me out of the will. There's a reason for that. So there's like, and it's not to say that I deserved that, because I didn't. I'm a good person, and he just we never bonded in a deep way, and he did that out of anger when I was 17 and never changed it. And so it's all okay. Like, I come home to being okay with it and really choosing to look at it at a higher level of spiritual healing. And this imbalance of like sex and money paradigm has nothing to do with that. It's like a deeper current of like what's really there. It's come down to my personal values, my personal power. And I did a personal ritual with myself over the last week and shifted everything with myself. I was like, I'm no longer willing to show up disempowered as the masculine or the feminine inside of myself in any way, shape, or form anymore, in any way. And like, it just really moves some mountains of energy to really like, I'm really doing deep inner work to fully dissolve anything in my consciousness around this, so that this just disappears out of my reality altogether. And I'm still in the inner workings of it. I'm speaking from a place of it's still being worked out, because really the truth of the matter is I actually created a program for this piece because every age stage we have trauma in our life. And so at some point we all experience it. And you become stuck in your consciousness at that place. And I was stuck at age 7 to 9 because that's where a huge piece of trauma came from me. And in that age gap from 6 to 12, actually, Eric Erickson's stages, it actually shows up as a pattern of keeping oneself in debt and never being able to be fully grounded, stability in life. And that was my pattern. This is now my 4th or 5th time in my life paying off debt from school this time around, but it's still that. And so I'm like, wow, this is the last time it will ever happen in my life, because I know without a shadow of a doubt, I'm doing the deep inner work to heal it. So that's my curriculum. Happy to share.
Oh, yeah. Did you guys hear that? I just want you, like, this is such a big topic, and I know that it's kind of heady. It's as we start to take responsibility and we start to unravel the way that we ask other people to show up for us or put our needs elsewhere. Like this is the key point. And Dawn has a powerful program. We have group coaching that is really helping a group of women really move through a lot of things. It's also really helping us gain more, like our own strength and confidence. Like the way that you do the work and that you in a way, like this is it.
So I have another little thing.
This is where
another little thing to say. So it's interesting. The universe meets you exactly where you're at, right? And I did that powerful ritual, and I was like, I'm no longer. And then the next day, I had this flood of information come through to add to my sales funnels and all this information. And I was just like feeling really empowered. I recorded all these videos that I needed to record, and immediately someone that I know reached out to me for some coaching, and in the coaching session was exactly this piece in her life. Exactly the same place where she was feeling disempowered in her own business and like a disempowered place. And I was able to reach in and just like help her unravel it. And like, this is the thing, the universe meets you exactly where you are.
Yeah, it's true.
God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same, right? Source, divine, light, God.
Friends, lovers,
all
God.
Of it. Here we are, we're having a conversation and a relationship with ourselves.
Pretty much. Oh, all right. Everyone's really shy today, apparently.
Everyone is really shy.
It's okay, y'all. I love you.
We love you anyway.
This is the cultivation of 2 weeks of my brain unraveling some things, unraveling some stories and some beliefs around things that I've held.
And I just invite our viewers, just, even if it's one word, how you're feeling today, just put it in the medicine basket next to us. So we see that you're viewing. We like this. It's that like forward momentum of knowing that, yes, this impacts your life, because this is why we do it. We do it for you. We do it to serve your awakening.
Yeah, it's true. We're all in it together. We'll take breaths. Drop into your bodies.
Yes, let's do this. I'll do the self-empathy tool now. So I just invite everybody to take a really deep breath within your heart and your consciousness, and allow yourself to come forward into the inner counselor. Call the inner counselor in. With your breath, activate your heart. And I want you to acknowledge, what are the thoughts that are coming forward for you? This is going to teach you self-empathy. If you're the first time viewing this show, then this is what is called the self-empathy tool. So really allow yourself to, what are those running thoughts that go through your mind right now? What is it? Just give yourself about 15 seconds to feel it. Catch on to one thing, one thought that runs through your mind. One sentence. And I want you to like drop down deeper underneath that. What do you feel? What do you experience? Let the wise part of yourself answer. The wise inner one. What are your feelings around that sentence? What's there? Explore it. Be curious. Now I invite you to go deeper underneath it, underneath those feelings. What's there? What is the true need and want that's asking to be met? Is it safety? Is it trust? Lean in. What's there? What really wants to be honored that's coming forward for you? Take a deep breath into it. Allow yourself to fully feel it. It's safe to have full emotional intelligence here. Your emotional intelligence is key to your awakening. Be honest with yourself. This is a place where you can learn and meet your own needs. Can anyone else in your life meet this need? And if not, how can you? How can you give this beautiful need that's asking to be met, whatever it is inside? How can you self-source and give that love and presence to yourself? No matter what it is, how can you give it to yourself? This is what self-resourcing is. Fully bringing love and presence to the places inside that need to be met. No more denying ourselves the right to be fully expressed, fully heard, fully acknowledged. This is a place where you, acknowledge what's really going on inside of you. Give yourself the love, the care, the tenderness to fully acknowledge what it is, what's there. I love you.
You know, the self-empathy tool has really changed my life.
Mine too.
Like, if it's literally the only thing that you all out there ever get out of this show, I'm really grateful. Thank you, Love Coach Academy and Scott Thomas for that. I run that tool 20 times a day. And what it offers is this beautiful capacity to show up in deeper compassion for myself, for others, deeper love. It just gives me an opportunity to really understand what's underneath this rat race of a brain that I have.
That we all have.
To really understand, to really understand what my feelings are pointing to and how human. It makes me just so human. It makes you just so human. Like when I can actually understand that your human, our human irrational emotions are really wants and needs, like on a freaking basic level. Like if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, it's just like right there. Like, oh, you have a need for this and this and this. I actually have those needs. It just comes out a different way. Thank you, Dawn.
You're welcome. Thank you for this show.
Let's talk about self-responsibility. You ready? Y'all ready for this? I don't think you're ready for this.
Yes.
Quiet. I know. You're really quiet. I love you too, Mom.
Hi, Stephanie.
So, soul good. She feels so good.
Yes.
So when there's a consistency between what we believe and how we behave, life has a tendency to be easy and happy, right? So we're living in accordance to our values. We're kind of like going with the flow. But there's a lot of, I've been speaking with like 2 of my clients right now, and they're really struggling. They're challenged by the cognitive dissonance of what I'm supposed to do and what I truly want. So societal belief systems, their family belief systems, their religious belief systems are weighing so heavily, and it's an internal critical dialogue that's literally destroying their lives. I mean, like literally. I've been there. Dawn, I'm certain that you've been there. I don't mean to speak for you, but I'm certain that you've been there too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where you're holding this and where you're holding this. So my deep longing desires are for blah, 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 blah. And I'm so afraid to go outside this norm and this belief system that I'm just suffocating my own self or my friends or my people with my incessant judgments on myself and others. Well, I mean, what is a judgment, right? It's an outward judgment is just a judgment on oneself. So as we start to align our values and align our own personal beliefs without the judgment, as we start to strip away all that crap that we're just like, we've been holding on to for years, that's not really our thoughts. Well, yeah. And is it really our thoughts? A lot of thought come from the time periods of when you're 0 to 6, where you're learning language. So when we believe that we're having like our own thoughts, are we really having our own thoughts? When you reprimand yourself, and maybe this is really telling for me, but when you reprimand yourself, what voice do you hear? In whose voice do you hear it? I'll tell you that sometimes I hear it in my father's voice. A lot of the time I hear it in my mom's voice. I even call myself Trisha. I know you're watching, Mom. But I'm like, damn it, Trisha. And then I'm like, oh yeah, my mom loves me and I love me too. And I remind myself that this is just a belief system. And it's not all of the things that she's ever said to me, but it's also things that the community that I actually live in now. I live in a bubble in California that believes a whole bunch of things. And if I go outside of like, oh, I should drive an eco car. I shouldn't drive the little car that I have because it has gas, and I should feel guilty that I don't have this like special little car that plugs in. Whose belief is that? It's not my belief. I love my car. I mean, I'm just using these really vain things to give an example of something that maybe is relatable to a large group of people, but there's a lot of little beliefs like that. It could be about what I eat, what coffee I drink, how I show up for another friend. Like it's so nitty gritty. And it's, I mean, my parents could give a crap less about what I eat. We ate, like, I grew up in Montana. It's not like we had like organic vegetables. Oh, who else has the guilt, the organic guilt? Like, raise your hand out there. You're living in Clover and you're like, and then if you bring something to a friend's house and they're like, well, is it organic? And you're like, it's what I can afford right now.
It's not just that. Is it organic? Is it gluten-free? Is it like, it's all the things.
Is it paleo?
Yeah.
So do you see how we're subscribing to other people's beliefs that it might be out of our own belief system, and we're not taking responsibility that it's actually uncomfortable? Dawn, I'm not going to bring an organic salad to your house. If you want me to bring something organic, it's going to have to be a couple of items that I can afford right now. Is that okay with you?
And that's in your value system, and yeah, that's okay.
Exactly. But that's me taking responsibility.
Yes.
No, I'm not guilty.
It's choosing you and choosing not to feel shame or guilt over your choices.
Right. Are you
because
guys
it's in alignment?
Exactly. So are you guys following along here? We're going to get into some heavier stuff. I'm just kind of like, we're starting here and I'm just going to drop it down. Are you ready? So if you could just kind of follow along, take a deep breath through this, because I'm going to ask some really hard questions. I see you, Daniel, raising your hand. I know you're following. So when we behave out of incongruence, like when we're just not in alignment with what we truly believe, and I'm really trying to use a straight, logical, like not frilly language here, and I'm doing my best. We have a tendency to stimulate or light on fire these emotions that are heavy, negative, quote unquote negative. I don't really believe in negative emotions, but other people do. So that there's this like internal conflict. So then we're like playing with this game of like, oh shit, I want to fit in so deeply. That's a need and want, right? Need, want, and value. I really want to fit in, so I'm gonna go outside my budget to get organic food so I can bring it to my friends because that's what they value. But now I'm putting myself in danger, in financial danger. So it's either guilt or regret that kind of can show up. It can be shame. If shame is from another person onto you, guilt is from you outward because you care for someone, right? So when you look at the places that you have internal conflict, where do you lie to yourself? Where do you lie to yourself about what you truly want? Where do you choose the thing that you really long for? Where don't you choose that? And where, and just to think about it right here, just a nice little switch. Why do you choose that? And what does it feel like? So here's the practice. I invite you to close your eyes and drop into your body, right? And think of a time that you behaved in alignment with your values, that you're in accordance, you're in congruence, you're literally living there and you're making choices. Like, yes, I know that this is choice right now is literally in all of my values, my personal values. I feel on fire and fantastic about this. And really drop into your body here. Truly feel that. Where do you feel it in your chest? What does it feel like in your brain? What do you feel in your body, in your stomach? What does it feel like? And I really want you to just dive into that. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Now take a mental note what that feels like, where you felt it, what resonates in your body, your mind. Now open your eyes, take a nice deep breath, shake it out. And the next time you close your eyes, think of a time when you acted outside your values and beliefs, either for someone or to get something that you needed met. And it's okay. Like, we all do this. We all act outside of our values and our beliefs. It's very human. It happens. So take a deep breath and just be with the feelings that come up. What does it feel like in your body, in your chest, in your stomach, in your heart? Can you feel it in your throat? What is your mind saying? Where do you feel it and sense it in your body and in your mind? Take special note there. As you take a nice deep breath in and out, open your eyes. And I give you an opportunity now. There's more to this, but there's something here. So did you feel the distinction of what your body is saying? Can you actually feel the distinction of when you're in alignment with your values and walking through and walking your path, and when you're not? Did you feel it in your body? Mm-hmm. I just want to remind you all that your body has an innate wisdom that we just ignore all the time. Your body is literally telling you things through pain, through emotions. Like, it's literally talking to you all the time. And right there, that sick feeling, I don't know if you got the sick feeling, but when I'm out of alignment with who I truly am behaving, it feels like like noodles that have been cooked and then you just leave them out too long and they've dried in the pan. It feels like that. Like kind of sick. You're like, ugh, and it's messy. And now you got to break them apart. Like that's what it feels like when I'm not in alignment with my truth within my life. Yeah. How did it feel like for you, Dawn?
I noticed is it actually showing up as a kind of a sharp pain in my chest, actually. Like kind of like down in here, you know what I mean? Like showing up as a sharp pain.
Yeah.
When I was out of alignment, and when I was in alignment, it was immediately a feeling of like flow and ease. It felt like I just heard the word ease. I can be in ease. It's like more and more as I live into my life, I'm leaning into like, I really am initiating grace into my world and into my life. Like I really want to live into God's grace, because that's always living in a alignment with your, like the deepest values you're here to live into in your life. That's living into God's grace. It's like what I'm calling in for myself in my life path. And everyone I work with, like that's the deeper intention coming through. Is like all the work I do is to help alignment with that very core thing.
So knowing the difference is the first step to realigning yourself. It's listening to your body. It's realigning yourself and your path and your whole system. So taking responsibility for your actions and your life, it's to really take ownership of your impact on others as well, right? So if we're talking about taking responsibility, you've got to know what it feels like. So showing up to be in accordance, to be in alignment, to be in integrity, like that right there feels like clarity. It feels clear. It doesn't have that sense of, resentment, like Shauna was saying. Like it doesn't have that. It actually feels spacious. Did you guys feel that? Are you guys following along? Like, so take that distinction. That's the first trick and piece to taking self-responsibility, is being able to feel it and understand it in your body. So as we move into this next part, I really want to talk to you about embracing self-responsibility. It's not merely as a personal preference, but as a principle in which you live by. It entails one acceptance of profoundly important ideas, your own personal moral standing, right? It's taking responsibility for your own existence, and that we implicitly recognize that other human beings are not our servants and do not exist for the satisfaction or to meet my needs or your needs, that it's literally, they're there to exist for them. So when we accept that we're not morally entitled to treat another person as a means to an end, or as something to get my needs met, something to get my emotional, financial, sexual, work needs met, when we start to just take ownership that we are the ones that are going to save us, or we are the ones that we're waiting for, that's a huge step in self-responsibility. It is our job to meet our needs. So this means that thinking for ourselves is coming from taking care of our needs and wants, self-sourcing our own emotional well-being. There's this, I read this book recently, and it's been really a really powerful book for me. It's called The Six Pillars of Self-Esteem. And Nathaniel Branden says, no one is coming. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to boost you up, to give you more self-confidence. No one's coming. And I know this might be really hard for you to hear, but no one is coming. This is your calling. You get to show up for you, to take responsibility for your own actions and your own wants and needs. It's a really powerful place to own if you want to own this. If you want to own that you get to ask for your needs to be met by another person. But again, we run the self-empathy tool every week. And what's that last question? What's the last question? Can that other person physically, emotionally, spiritually meet your needs? Do they have the capacity to do that for you? And if not, can you self-source? And how do you do that? What are you actively doing to self-source your own needs today? So I'm going to read a couple of statements, and I invite you to just take these into consideration and just let them sink in. And I know that some of these may or may not land for you, and they might be hard to take, and I understand, but just be open to allowing them in. I am responsible for the achievement of my desires. I am responsible for my choices and actions. I am responsible for the level of consciousness that I bring to my relationships. I'm going to say that one again. I am responsible for the level of consciousness that I bring to my relationships. I am responsible for my behavior, my thoughts, and my actions. I'm responsible for my beliefs and how they unfold in the world. I am responsible for how I prioritize my time. And I'd really like to actually own that one personally with my business partners, that I'm responsible for how I prioritize my time. I'm sorry that I've asked you to do that with me and for me. I am responsible for my own happiness. I'm responsible for choosing the values in which I live by. And this one I'm hoping that this one will land, that I am responsible for the quality of communication that I bring. I am responsible for the quality of communication that I bring to my relationships, to my friendships, to my loverships, to my family. And it's my responsibility. So taking responsibility means that you can own the impact of your thoughts and actions on another, to acknowledge it, and to meet them with compassion. It means that you can do that with yourself. That you can own the impact of your thoughts and actions on yourself, your own behaviors, your own beliefs, and how they're really truly impacting you. So, I've sentence stems, and we've done this a lot. I know that. Is take this sentence with you, and it's just allow your brain, if you like to free write, or if you like just to think about it, take this half sentence with you and give yourself the opportunity to really allow yourself to let this unfold. If I take full responsibility for my happiness today, ... and really give yourself the opportunity to answer that question. It might look like, if I take full responsibility for my happiness today, then I'll be more clear and direct with my language, with what I want from people. If I take full responsibility for my happiness today, then I will schedule time for myself between calls. I'll even plan to eat lunch. Like, I'll even put that in my calendar. Does this make sense? Yeah. I feel like I'm kind of ranty today. I'm kind of like, huh.
Oh, it's so good. Just that feeling into that piece of like taking responsibility for my happiness and what shifts will come out of that. Like giving myself full permission to feel like, oh, wow, I can make shifts in my schedule to accommodate new places new growth, new places that I need to lean into and want to give to myself and my family.
Yeah. And here, I mean, it's on so many levels, right? It's, if you're taking full responsibility for your life as you're the creator of it, if you hate your job, find another job and then quit it, right? I mean, I take full responsibility for my happiness. I'm going to stop doing the things that I fucking hate. And I'm going to, or shift it, or shift the way that I think about it. Like, here's the thing about it is like, you know, I'm not going to like quit my job immediately and leave my family hanging. Like, that's irresponsible. That's irresponsible for my values. Like, I can't do that. That wouldn't feel good to me. But I'm going to actively look for another job.
Plan. You can plan and strategize and move in the direction of making a change, which is what I did. And it took me many years to do it, but I did it, you know. And with COVID, it was a blessing and a help to move the final shift over into that paradigm. But I had been preparing for this shift for a very long time, inwardly.
I feel like I need to own something actually right now. Is that there, before I left on vacation, there was a lot of things that I was doing that I just didn't want to do. And it was creating a lot of and again, this is a place of, as I, you know, as a codependency coach, as I start to strip away at those beliefs and those things like, oh, I'm doing this for another person. Well, that's always going to create resentment. Unless it's in alignment with my true wants and desires, it's always going to create resentment. Like, this is just how it works. So as I sat there and I stopped and I'm like, okay, my life is my creation. It's the way I think about it. It's the way I behave in it. And it's what I say yes to. And it's what I say no to.
And so, I was just about to say that.
Yeah. And so then I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm creating all this like, about it. And I'm like, wait, that's not actually taking responsibility for my life. It's me continuing to put my happiness on another person. So for me,
oh, you're frozen. She'll come back in a sec. I'm just going to say how powerful.
Oh, hi.
Yes, you're
Surprise.
back. I'm just going to say how powerful this conversation is. It's a very deep place.
Taking ownership.
Oh, Spotty, sorry.
My own value system, and it wasn't them. So on vacation,
yes, this is such a powerful place of like, where can we, you know, fully own our responsibility? Where are we avoiding taking responsibility? You know, because maybe there's other responsibilities that are like on the plate that you're hyper focused on, and there's other responsibilities in the background that you haven't even been able to, like, if you look at your life like a plate, right? Like there's, you know, there's lots of pieces to our life. So where are we really focused on the pieces of responsibility that are in our forward consciousness, but then where are the ones that we're just like, oh, I can't get to that just yet, and maybe you're not in alignment with really owning it yet. So that's a really powerful place to like lean into, like, because really owning all parts brings the full balance that you're seeking, right, in the outer expression of life, where it really meets you in that place of like matching inside. You know, really all the work we do is to lean into the places inside that have been out of alignment so that it shifts your outer expression. It actually becomes a match to what you're really, what you feel on the inside. And so that's powerful. Perfect timing back.
Hi. I have no idea what's going on. The universe has a funny way of taking a pause.
Yeah, I was able
So
to
again,
share, I was able to share about like, you know, sometimes in our consciousness, we have like responsibilities that we're paying attention to or we're taking responsibility for, but what are the pieces in the background that we're like, haven't gotten to yet, that we're like, those are the pieces that are out of alignment that we haven't been able to fully give presence to. So look at it in that way.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, just to I don't know where you guys left off, but to finish up my example is that I was doing a bunch of stuff before I went on vacation, and I chose to, as best as I could in the highest responsibility that I could take, pass off responsibilities and no longer wanted to do anymore. It wasn't in the most loving and way, it just happened the way it happened. And I know that I take some responsibility. That's so silly. But I'm really grateful for you all to just showing up the way that you have been in these tools and in this work. I know that it's tough. And it takes a lot of courage.
It takes a lot of courage to choose self-honoring and to know, like, especially if you have conflict in family and places in your life.
Thank you all for showing up today. Thank you to Love Coach Academy, Scott Katomics, and all his amazing work, and the teams that are running in the background